Welcome to this episode of Cinema Crunch. My name is Rose Donahue, and we are filming at the Quantum Arc Media Studio in Las Vegas, Nevada. Video content is very useful in advertising. Today, we'll be specifically talking about how to create advertising opportunities within a narrative format. My guest today is director and producer Maud Lazzarini.
Hi.
Hello, welcome. I love that. Hi, love that. Great start. So, director and producer, did I leave anything off for you? I know those are like your main things. You're a writer, right? Yes.
As well.
Okay, very cool. Which I'm sure was helpful in the projects that you've worked on, whether they're yours or other people's.
Yes, of course it was, because and as a director, you always want to be involved in the writing process to be sure you get everything right and you direct it the best way. So, yes, always helpful.
Very cool. And how did you first get into the industry?
So, the usual way, I guess, film school, then short films, then film festival with the short film, and then full-time work.
Phenomenal. I love that. And you've primarily been based in Paris,
Yes.
and you're in Las Vegas now.
Yes.
So I wanted to talk a little bit about some of your work from your time in France, specifically Le Latte Chaud and Moms, which to translate, I don't speak French, but I was very happy Google Translate exists, the hot latte and Moms. So it seemed like I did watch a couple of the episodes of both of them, and I really liked that it had a cinematic look to it, even though it was a YouTube show.
Yes, I really wanted that.
Yeah,
Yes, that was the deal.
that was the deal. Well, that's good. That's good.
Yes.
And so they're both YouTube shows, YouTube channels.
Yes.
Which one did you start with?
The Latte Show.
Okay.
Yeah, it was the first one I started with right after touring with my short films in festivals.
Mm-hmm.
And it was a new channel. The idea was really to put all the best female YouTube artists and do something that was a little bit more feminine. And so first it started as like a fake late show, so Latte Show, late show. And
Love that. That
and
is
then
so
we
fun.
turned more to like doing, fictions, short films, web series and all.
Yeah. So they were all the lead French
Yes,
YouTube stars.
The first YouTube artists that are all, females, all girls.
Yeah.
Lifestyles, comedy, different.
And there were about 5 artists. I had
there were 5
Juliette,
to
Lee, Nathalie,
Yes.
Marjorie, Audrey. I don't want to butcher their last names, but I can include them
Yes.
in our
It's
copy.
fine.
So how did you get connected with them to get started?
So the short film I've made in Paris, the last one, I was produced by a company that was called Or Film. And that company started doing YouTube video when YouTube basically started to be big in France. So they worked with Natu, she's Nathalie, she's the biggest YouTube female artist in France. And then we produced a couple of videos for her when she needed production for, bigger YouTube videos. And then that's how, when she started to do the Latte Show, I was in.
That's very cool.
Yeah, it was fun.
And when you started the Latte Show, were you planning on creating these sponsorship and advertising opportunities from the beginning, or did that kind of develop as the show unfolded?
That's always the idea, because behind this channel there's an agency that put the money in basically for the first months, and that's what the agencies expect. For us it's a bit different, because it's like we want to do what we want to do, and if we have brands, that means that the channel can keep on going, but that was not our goal. It's just a way to finance it.
Sure.
For the agencies and production companies.
So you guys were in it for the creative aspect, telling cool, interesting stories, making people laugh, making people cry, I think.
Yes, and have something that was all like female driven, which was, not really the case. At that time it was like 2015, and it was, mostly guys making fart jokes on camera. So we
Classic.
wanted to do just girls making fart jokes, I guess.
Yeah.
Just make it different.
Definitely. So were you guys just working off of the agency's funding for the first month or
Yes.
few months?
Yes.
What did the timeline look like?
So we started shooting in July. I started working with them in July, and I think our first deal with money was in January. No, maybe October actually. October, but it was a small one. And then the biggest brand came in January.
Okay.
So yes, a few months.
Yeah.
Before that.
Okay, so a few months on spec or whatever,
Yes,
and then
yes. It's basically it's for you to have like at least 200,000 followers, so the brands know that they can have that many views. And
okay.
yeah, it was a bit different with moms because it was about parenting, motherhood, and
Kind of a different audience.
yes. So we didn't need that many followers actually because it's such a niche. It's very specific, and we had no competition online, so it was way easier to have brands follow us.
Interesting. So when you started Moms, did you have brands involved from the beginning, or was it also?
No, not at all. We first did like a web series, like a real web series and not YouTube channel. It was, short 5 to 6 minutes episode for a few months, and everything was written down. It was like, the beginning and then to the season. And the deal was really just to do it and see what happens next. And next, some brands followed, and we were able to make a living out of this YouTube channel.
That's great.
For everybody. So
I know it's a medium where people can actually make a profit. It's an interesting, really, and it's new.
Yes,
but
yes, and it's interesting because you're gonna have some YouTube artists who are actually gonna make millions very easily, and some other we're gonna have we're gonna struggle for months with no money at all, and all of a sudden they're gonna make 20 grand for one thing, and it's gonna be enough for a few months, and it's definitely not everybody's on the same scale or same level.
Sure.
Which was the case with the Latte Show because we had a very big YouTube artist, and the other one were just like, big enough to be a little bit famous on the YouTube scene, but not that huge. So they were not like even themselves making the same money.
Oh,
brands
okay, got
would
it.
pay
Yeah,
more for one because they really wanted her,
right,
and to share on her own social medias because she has millions of followers. So
right.
it's different for everybody.
Yeah, so that you had those 5 actresses, and so even within those 5, there's stratification on where people
Big
were
difference,
financially.
yes.
Yeah. When it came to, so the agency was funding it, you guys were making art, then the brands came in.
Yes.
How did the brands kind of purchasing this creative work / advertising space from you guys interact with you writing your stories? Did they have specific parameters of what they needed to see in that episode?
Yes, of course they did. And part of our work was actually to tell them that, no, you don't need to do it this way. Because, for instance, we work with a French brand that's, I don't know, maybe close to Target or something like that, I'll say. And just, like superstar. And it was their first time working with YouTube artists, and they had no idea how to do it. So they just wanted their brand to be in every shot. And we had to just make them understand that it was there because they were all like cashiers, so they all had, the name tag and stuff.
Okay.
So it was there all the time, but it was enough. But it was a process to make them understand that people don't want to be, people don't want to see product placement as advertising as much than that. Like, it doesn't need to look like a commercial. Our audience is going to feel betrayed, and it's never going to work out either for us or for the brand. It's basically, as I told you before, brainwashing.
Right.
It's
okay.
just like trying to be subtle, not too subtle, but like the product is here.
Right.
The video is obviously sponsored, but that's not, the story is not about making an advertising for the brand.
Right.
There's an entire story, and it's just like...
And the brand's part of the story.
Exactly.
It's a character in the story.
Yeah, in that case, the brand was just the place where it was happening. They were all playing, cashiers and employee of the supermarket, and that was it, and that was enough.
Yeah. So so the audience watching could see the brand, see the celebrities interacting with the brand, but it wasn't like, go here, go here, go here,
Yes,
go shopping here.
Never. The name was never mentioned once, for instance.
Interesting.
You could read it many times, but it was never mentioned.
So go ahead, sorry.
Yes, and to me, this was one of our most successful product placement, and the brand was actually quite happy because it wasn't like, look at this is it, we're sponsoring this, it's amazing. So you know, just need to make it work with the story.
Yeah. What were some other techniques you used to subtly promote products like that? You know, so it wasn't an obvious ad. Things like reading a name tag or location. What were some other ways of doing that?
Well, depending on the brand, because there's some brands that are very hard to place. Like, you know, we did one for a game that was from Hasbro. I have no idea how you say it in English, but it's the game when you put something in your mouth and you try to say names.
Like it's
words.
a big
Yes,
thing?
exactly.
I don't know what it's called, but I've seen adverts
Yes,
for
it's
it.
mashmo in French. And, well, how do you place that in fiction? I mean, you know, it's pretty specific.
Yeah.
So this one, we went for it. We're just like, okay, they're playing a game, and then there's a earthquake that came. And that was not our... It's a cute-looking video, but that was not the most successful product placement because it was very hard to place.
Yeah.
And the brand had also, like, some restriction. Like, they wanted the name of the game in the title of the video. So that's the first thing that's just, like...
Too obvious.
Too obvious. Or the followers are going to hate it.
Right.
Even if it's a young crowd, they just don't want to be taken as fool.
Right. Yeah.
So, yeah.
And the game itself is an obvious game, so it's not really a subtle.
And it was
Not.
everywhere on TV and all, so it's just, you know, it's very hard to place subtly.
So how would you guys gauge the success of how one of your videos went? Did the sponsors have the statistics and report back to you? Did you collect statistics and report back to them?
The marketing agency we were working with was collecting the statistic. And basically it's also, you know, the number of views. Like when they see there's 3 million views within weeks, they're just super happy. Even if sometimes it doesn't mean they're gonna, you know,
actually get sales.
Yes, but I mean, you know, it's a very cheap way for them to actually reach an audience, and in that case, a younger audience. Because when you put an ad on TV, you're not sure, you know, if actually this target audience is gonna watch it. With a YouTube channel, you are, and you know, who has 3 million views on TV for that small money because it's really not the same price than a commercial. So,
yeah.
It's good for them.
Yeah, no, that's great.
Yes.
So who were the other key players? You brought on you had the YouTube actresses just because they had the following already. Then you were producing, writing, directing.
Yes.
Who were your other key players to make it happen?
We also had a few writers like working for us and writing different things, and also the actresses were writing their own stuff. And
cool.
behind it we had a company who was called at the time Mixicom, and that got backed by a bigger company called Webedia, and basically it's like everything that goes online, so big websites and marketing and all that, and there was the one taking care of the YouTuber, like a talent agency, but the idea is really to make money out of this by, you know, having brands wanting to work with them all the time.
Oh, okay, so they were managing that.
Yes.
Very cool. And then what were some like different things working on MAMS compared to Le Latte Shop?
Well, first it was very different because we had no one famous. Like, just the idea was really to have like real actresses and a few like influencers, like doing, you know, blogs about motherhood, but who were not like, you know, big YouTube star having millions of followers. So it was really like starting from scratch.
Yeah.
Which I loved because more freedom.
Yeah.
And for me, way more control. Like I was basically the boss.
Nice.
I loved it.
Yeah.
It was great. More creative too, because we didn't have, you know, anything to do, like not to respect what brands tells you, or when people have a lot of followers, they're also gonna worry all the time, like are my followers not gonna like this, is this too different from what I do? So sometimes it's extremely tricky to work with, especially 5 different
influencers
with 5 different audience completely, because they didn't do the same kind of videos at all.
Okay, yeah.
So to make it work together, sometimes it's just like
Right.
Yes, a
Right.
headache.
Where
So
one person might be like, this is too quirky for me. This is too
yes,
feminine for
yes.
me. This is too sporty for me.
It was
Like,
all
yeah.
the time.
Okay.
And so this is why in the end we end up doing, sometimes an episode with only 3 of them because only 3 of them wanted to do that episode and sometimes just one because, no one else really liked it for them or for their audience. So it was a lot of restraint working for the Latte Show. And Mams was just like pure freedom.
Do whatever.
Yes.
Yeah.
Especially at the beginning because really we had no expectation about it.
Right.
So we could be very politically incorrect all the time. That was great.
No one would care. No one would mind.
No, that was fun.
That's great. And then did you have kind of the some type of agency involved with MAMS as well?
Same
agency.
company.
Okay,
yes.
got it. Cool.
Yes.
So they just kept coming back to you.
Yeah, I basically worked for them and exclusively for like 3 years and a half.
Oh, awesome.
Yes, at the only female filmmaker, so everything that was female-driven content.
Okay.
Because so this was the 2 YouTube channel I did, but I also directed for other YouTubers. Every time that this brand is gonna work with this YouTube artist, so do you want to do that? Because well, she's a girl. Basically, that's what happened. So
you were the female contact.
yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Like
They put all the girl stuff.
it's
So you're
female-driven.
Maud's got it.
Yes, I must have directed
Interesting.
so I directed more than 120 video with them, and I think there's only 3 that I've made with YouTube artists who are male.
Wow.
So yeah.
Wow. Yeah. Definitely niche.
Definitely. Yes.
So you've worked with lots of different performers. Would you say there's a strong difference between actors and influencers?
Huge.
Yeah.
Huge. Well, first, same reason also. They're going to be so worried about their audience that sometimes they're way harder to direct. And because they don't come from the movie background, the behavior on set can be quite different. Like they could just, you're shooting and just stop a shot and be like, wait, let's do a snap. And, just being like, yes.
Wow.
So, yes, when you have an entire crew behind and you're already 3 hours late.
Of
because
course.
everybody was 2 hours late this morning. It's just, it's a bit, it's way more
Interesting.
challenging. And it's like acting as, you learn how to act. And this wasn't the case. So everything's changed. But to me, it was the best school because now I can work with everybody.
Right. Yeah. You're ready
Yeah.
for anything.
Exactly.
Even if it is an actor who's maybe a little new or maybe a
Yes.
little overconfident, you're
Yeah.
ready for it.
Yes, or even I worked with a very young YouTube artist. She was just getting started, but she was like 16, and it was the first time being directed. So working with the girls before helped a lot, just to help her,
Yeah.
being comfortable and how to manage to talk to her so she can actually get what I'm asking her, but
Yeah.
not being like do this.
Sure.
Because, this is basically how I was before, less of a diplomat for sure. Being more like, this is what I want. Can we do that? No, I'm just never saying this is what I want. I'm just bringing them to understand what's best for the video.
Love that.
Why am I subtle?
Yes. Cool. Integrating the subtleties in life
yes.
to your life, to your
Yes.
videos
Yes,
across the board.
exactly. Mums was very different because most of them were actresses. So it was
So it's a little easier.
Oh,
Yeah. Easier. And yeah, I think there's a lot of people that don't fully understand what it takes to run a production and keeping the
Yes.
schedule.
Yes.
And, if you change the call time for one person, it's going to affect everyone, all that stuff.
And that also makes complete sense because it's people who started online just, as a hobby and just filming themselves on their computer or iPhone and editing themselves. So they know exactly what to do. And also they're the writer of the content. So they have,
Right. They're very independent.
yes, they have full control on anything. And all of a sudden you ask them to play a character that they have never played because they're always themselves. So, it's very different. I had one of the artists, she never wanted to look ugly on camera. And one time she got hit by a car. That was the plot.
Oh.
But she didn't want to look ugly after being hit by a car.
Okay.
So no blood, no
No bruises.
no nothing. I was like, oh my God. So it's pretty tough.
Okay. Everyone has their limits.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it is different for sure.
Yeah. So, what's been some of your greatest takeaways from creating content specifically for like online distribution?
Well, first it was really the quantity of it because I was basically producing, writing, directing a video a week because that's what we were, distributing one video a week.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So it was a lot.
That's
and
a lot.
Because, as you said, they were quite cinematic, looking.
Yeah.
So we try to do our best all the time.
Mm-hmm.
But definitely to work on that time frame. And with so many restraints, like budget and crew and
Yeah.
brands when they were involved. And to still, keep doing it and never stopping and find a way to make it work. Like how to shoot 80 shots in half a day, but you just have to do it.
Yeah. Just got to make it happen.
Yes.
Would you did you have like a rehearsal, like rehearsal Monday, shooting Tuesday, post-production Wednesday?
No rehearsal, never.
Never? Okay, never. Okay.
Sometimes they will just be on set and had no idea what we were shooting. Never read the screenplay. So
Just go for it.
Yeah.
Hey.
And
Yeah.
you just have to make it work. And
Yeah.
definitely a very good way to learn how to edit the best way. To keep it dynamic, even if there's
Quick.
Exactly. So even if the acting some days are off because, someone doesn't know their line well or whatever, just have to make it look at this perfect just by very quick edit.
Nice.
So it's good.
Very cool. Well, honestly, this conversation has gone so much faster than I thought it would. I have so much more I want to talk about, but we'll just have to find another time. Before we wrap up, where can people find out more about you and your work?
Yes, so here in town I have a company called Glitz Entertainment, and we're online with a website www.glitzent.com, and on social medias, Glitz Entertainment LV.
Phenomenal. Well, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Loved having you here today.
Thank you.
And thank you all for tuning into this episode of Cinema Crunch. Again, we are filming at the Quantum Arc Media Studio in Las Vegas, Nevada. I'm your host, Rose Donahue, and we'll catch you next time.